the depth chart that we've seen with the ones and twos through 3 days here now?
Well, I haven't been at practice, so Ryan will have a better answer for this. But, just reading observations and, all the press clippings about practice, it's the secondary. And kind of going back to what we talked about last week with Ethan Stone, we talked about who he thinks going to emerge as starters in the secondary and who could have a big year. Andre Turrentine seeing reps with the first team was surprising to me. Danico Slaughter seeing first team reps at cornerback was not surprising to me. That just, affirmed what my thoughts of how he was going to fit in with Tennessee this season were. But really just Turrentine and Brandon Turnage too being on the first team, because I felt like he probably was going to be behind some other guys, but evidently he's still in the thick of it for competing for a starting spot.
Yeah, I think Andre Turrentine popped the most to me here, too. When you look at it, Ryan, I mean, is that just maybe they're giving some reps just in case things go south legally with Tank McCullough, or do you think it's a real thing that they're just like, hey, he's got to prove it, he's got to earn it? Because Andre Turrentine's now been there for a little bit. Wesley Walker, it feels like that's safe. Danico Slaughter at corner is safe. But, probably Tamarion McDonald at star is safe. But it does feel like Andre Turrentine has a legit option to start and to at least be in the running for that spot. Is that what you've gathered this week?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that probably has to be the biggest surprise. And look, it's like 4 reps that he was in 11 on 11 when they're not wearing pads on the first day of practice when they know the media is watching. So I don't want to buy too much into it. And I think that's a good point with the McCullough legal situation. But at the same time, like, even if that's the case and they want to get other guys' experience, Andre Turrentine wouldn't have been my first guess for who was playing at safety. And he was a guy that I was excited about a year ago because he was a big-time recruit coming out of high school, spent the year at Ohio State, transferred in. But he didn't really come close to playing any meaningful football for Tennessee last year. So it was a big surprise for me. But I think at the very least, again, I'm not trying to, read too much into it, but at the very least, it's an interesting development. And as I kind of said, look, Jalen McCullough, it's good to have his leadership. It's good to have his experience back there, but it would be good for Tennessee if that experience was not playing 80 snaps defensively a game, playing 20, 30 snaps, and someone could overtake him. Because unless all of a sudden in his 5th year, he just finds a different gear. He's the type of guy Tennessee, if Tennessee wants to improve upon their pass defense, upon their secondary play, you want some other younger guys overtaking McCullough.
So just from what you've seen this week, Ryan, do you think Turrentine is ahead of Christian Charles?
It's hard to tell from the only thing we've seen this week is that. And
yeah,
he was running first and Charles was running third team. So I would say so. But to your point, like, I would have definitely guessed Charles would be ahead of him. And
right.
He's a guy that I've been excited about, or at least intrigued by the possibility with him back at safety, of him kind of making a run into the starting lineup, or at the very least, just playing a lot more minutes or a lot more snaps.
I think the other major surprise outside of Brew McCoy looking like he shedded a lot of weight and looks shredded. Like, Brew McCoy looks like he's poised for just a gigantic final season here with Tennessee. But I think the other one was Gerald Mincey running with the twos at left tackle, and that it looks like it's going to be Jeremiah Crawford and Dane Davis manning the 2 right tackle spots out of the gate here, right? Like, have you found, like, is that just something that Mincey just doesn't want to play right tackle, and it's just we'll see what happens between him and John Campbell? What happens here, Ryan?
It's hard to think it's not, some degree of Mincey's really struggled at right tackle, or he doesn't want to play there, because it really feels like John Campbell's entrenched as the starting left tackle. And it felt like you're going to have a position battle again last offseason, or last fall camp, is at the left tackle spot, now at the right tackle spot between Mincey and Crawford. And those are 2 guys that have been pretty similar in, the 1 year that they've each played extensively at Tennessee. I know Crawford played a little bit in 2021. I don't see Dane Davis really pushing Jeremiah Crawford. So all of a sudden, if Mincey, they just ruled out him working on the right side at all, and he's going to be at left tackle, I'm sure there'll be competition there between Campbell and Mincey. But it's really hard not to see not seeing Campbell winning that left tackle job. And on the contrary, I'm sure there'll be competition between Dane Davis and Jeremiah Crawford. But it would be really surprising if Jeremiah Crawford isn't the starting right tackle. So all of a sudden, what we've talked about is maybe the biggest or one of the biggest position battles of fall camp, I think has very much been doled down if that is the case. And Mincey's going to be working the left tackle all camp.
That'll be interesting. I mean, is it weird that I might feel better about Crawford and Dane Davis at right tackle, Jack?
Why would you feel better about that?
Because we saw Mincey at left, and like obviously Joe Milton being a right-handed guy, like I value left tackle a little bit more anyway.
Right.
And we saw Jeremiah Crawford at left tackle. I mean, what he did in the Alabama game was great. The throwing up at just point, like the dude's already a legend in that regard, but he holds his own. And if he can hold his own in that right spot, and Dane Davis, we just know is going to play some. Like that man is going to be 37 years old, still getting some smart snaps for Tennessee. We're like, is that Dane Davis still?
For extra points.
Yeah, like he's going to be doing something. So shout out to him for being at Tennessee for 35 years. But you look at Mincey, I think because Campbell, like he looks like $1 million right now, he's entrenched as a starter. But I think Mincey, you feel a lot better about left tackle if Mincey's actually good being the backup left tackle for the year. Because then you're like, hey, if Campbell does struggle or something, we have somebody in Mincey who did do enough last year that the season's not like in disarray if Campbell goes down or Campbell's not what we think he might be, right?
Right, yeah. Unknowns are scary, and Campbell's an unknown for Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Mincey showed that he may not be, all SEC caliber or anything like that, but he can play left tackle, and he can play it pretty efficiently, so pretty well. So knowing that you have that security blanket at left tackle, that's a good point, and that's something I hadn't thought of. Just because with Mincey being a starter last season, now moving into this season, it's kind of weird that he's not earning first-team reps. But if they're confident in J.J. Crawford on the right side, and Campbell's got this tremendous upside and he's in great shape and he can just, he has a higher ceiling maybe than Mincey, then this offensive tackle battles for each side is probably the best case scenario with Mincey being that backup left tackle, I think.
I think so too. The Smokey Grays. This is something I've been thinking about because we saw that rumored leak, which I don't think is true, that just came out. Like I don't think that's true. I think it would have come out. Tennessee would have addressed it if those Smokey Grays with the weird orange at the front were real. Jack, do you like the Smokey Gray football uniforms? Not baseball, not basketball, because I don't think Rick Barnes will ever bring those back as long as he's roaming the sidelines for Tennessee. Are they actually good? Are you a fan of the Smokey Grays? Not the white helmet versions, not anything else. The Smokey Grays we see.